What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another deck profile here on TCG University for the card game UniVersus. My name's Tam, and today I'm going to be showing you my Inferno 1-dot deck profile that I played for the Budget Battle Campus Championship. Before we get into the profile, I do want to give a big shout out to our sponsor this week, Rochester CCG. You can find all of your UniVersus needs out there, including all of the decks that we played as a one-click buy. We have the entire decks marked up, and you should be able to find anything that you want. So if you like this deck, make sure that you go out and show them some love and support, or buy singles for any other projects you got working on. Without further ado, let's jump into the profile. All right, so this is Inferno. If you have not seen one of my deck profiles before, as opposed to just reading off what the cards say and telling you how many are in them, instead I would rather take and tell you how the deck wants to operate, what its plan is. And so the plan for Inferno is simply, I just want to burn you to death. I want you to be in such a sticky situation where you feel like you're not allowed to do anything. I want to suffocate you as I play the game. So the remove 2 foundations after my opponent blocks the attack, or sorry, remove 2 attacks to burn them for 2. Fantastic. Those are attacks on my discard pile anyways. Who cares? They're not going to be useful. This deck will probably never cycle. And the Desperation Enhance, which we have plenty of ways to cut ourselves at Desperation, including getting punched in the face, says that if they don't block, they burn 4. So they have to, on every attack, they're at least losing 2 because of how Inferno works. And that is the point. That's the plan. If you don't block and you put me to Desperation, I'm just going to kill you. This is how it works. So, the first attack that we're going to be playing is the best attack in Standard right now for Shadow Slicer. If you know, I'm not a huge fan of this card, and so if you want to find ways to beat this card, I've written an article out on Patreon.com available for anybody. Just like there's over 50 cards in the game that just stop this card, and there's a big long list and so on and so forth. So easy plug out of the way. Shadow Slicer is one of the best cards. It's inside of Inferno's kit himself, and so just remove a copy of Shadow Slicer, and then add it back to your hand. It turns 1 card into 4 cards, as well as just paying 2 vitality, trying to get closer to that Desperation for +2/+2. If we are at Desperation and we get the +2/+2, this card does 10 damage all by itself if it's not blocked. 10 damage on 1 card. So if I've got 4 of them, that's 40 damage. This kills Goro, just with 1 card and Desperation played in 2. Wow, seems pretty good. Up next, we're playing 4 Deathlord's Impalement. This card is in kind of the same boat as Shadow Slicer, but maybe with a little more interaction just because of how the game works. But this card just gets real fast and real big. This card is more of a Spirit Bomb than Shadow Slicer is a lot of, I would say, mini cuts, but they're pretty meaty cuts. This card just says it gets a bunch of speed and a bunch of damage based on the amount of life that we've paid. We do have 35 life, so at max, what we could do is give this thing plus 34 damage and plus 34 speed. Which seems like an okay thing to do. But if you do pay too much life on 1, it does mean the other 3 in your deck are not nearly as good. They're just 3 mid for 5s, which are just not very good stats. Up next, we're playing 4 Vicious Madness. The main reason this card is in here is it's just an 8 damage throw. We could squint our eyes and essentially say that throw is just burn 4 on all my attacks. Not to mention if they block, it's another burn 2. If they don't block and I'm at Desperation, it's 12 damage. And so there's plenty of stuff that Vicious Madness does, as well as it covers our low block, which is really important. Up next, we're playing 4 Syndicate Slice. This is just one of those cards that my opponent does not want to block, and so this is just a utility card. If they do block, they're going to burn 2, I'll draw a card, and either way, my next check to play an attack is +1. Like, it's really easy to take and play Syndicate Slice, and then toss it into a Vicious Madness. Maybe they did block the Syndicate Slice. Well, now we've got the Vicious Madness coming in, and it got +1 to the check. We checked a 5, we actually checked a 6 because of Syndicate Slice, and now you blocked this one, you took it, I drew my card. It's just value all around. Not to mention this 1 mid block is fantastic, and it's 8 damage if they don't block it. I'm in Desperation, and it's a 2 diff at Desperation. Whew. Real scary stuff. And then my last attack of the deck is 4 Flame Wars. As I said, the whole point of this deck is to just push and punish their vitality without even necessarily having to do attack damage. There's plenty of times where I'll put you to 3 and hold double Flame War in my hand, and that means that you can't attack me anymore because if your mids or your high attacks are going to get auto-blocked because of Flame War's amazing static, as well as every time that I successfully block something, you'll take 1. Wow, super good. And it's 5 mid for 4, 5 mid for 8 in Inferno when I'm at Desperation. Really good. On to the foundations. We've broken up foundations into 4 main categories: aggression, flow, defense, disruption. And so the first card that I want to talk about when it comes to aggro is for Born from Destruction. Just enhance if there's a copy of this attack in my remove from game pile. This attack is +1/+1. Because of the way that Inferno works, I get to pick any of these cards inside of my discard pile and remove them from the game, especially with something like Shadow Slicer. This card just makes them all crazy stronger. And so when it comes to having these cards in my deck, as well as these essentially just make extra attacks whenever I play any attack and it is removed. I mean, giving even my Syndicate Slice +1/+1, making a 4 high for 5 is even just scary enough. Like 5 damage we never want to mess with, and it's a 4 high, so now blocking it feels really bad because of the burn. Well, if it's now a 9 damage attack in Inferno because of a singular Born from Destruction, we're probably going to have multiples on board, as well as Enhance Commit after I've taken damage this turn, draw a card. Super easy to do. This deck wants to cut its own vitality in order to pay for easy costs, and so we get to do what we got to do. Up next, we're playing for Soul of the Sword. This is an aggressive card just because flip the top 3 cards from your deck and then get +1 damage. It's really good for taking and tossing Shadow Slicers in my discard pile, as well as fueling Inferno's remove 2. Those were going to be useless resources anyways. I was just going to be checking for the rest of the turn. Who necessarily cares? As well as maybe I have, in the same vein, I've got Born from Destruction. I've got any of these cards removed and they do happen to block it. They do happen to block one of my Shadow Slicers, and I have a Shadow Slicer remove. I can flip this card and then draw an additional card. Hopefully it's another attack, and then we can keep playing the game. Up next, we're playing for a Worthy Vessel. This card is an aggressive card just because I want to pay my vitality as quick as I can. There were plenty of times inside of the game where I paid the 1 on my opponent's attack and then gave them +2 damage because I needed to get the desperation as quick as I can. I'm no spoilers, but I lost a match inside of the campus championship just because I was off by 1 vitality when it came to going to my desperation. So my deck kind of turned off, or sorry, it was not turned on. The deck didn't stop. It just wasn't allowed to get there. As well as is a really good out for discard pile touching stuff. My Shadow Slicer is on that big list. You can find on Patreon. Up next, for aggressive cards, we're playing 4 New Emperors of Netherrealms. I'm a 6 hand size character with 35 life. There's no reason I can't flip, pay 3, and then draw an additional card. This turns me into 10-handed on 1 turn if I've got all 4 of them out. Just really solid stuff. Just finding more attacks, and then the more that I can draw, the less I put in my discard pile. Yeah, the Inferno burn 2 is fine, but smacking you in the face with an 8 damage Vicious Madness is way better than removing it for +2 or for burn 2. And then my last aggressive card is Forged from Soul Edge. This card is just Enhance Commit if this is the only thing in my card pool +2 damage. There's plenty of times in the early game where I want to take and just toss a singular card and I want them to interact with it. And then it says if it is completely blocked by a weapon card, which a 5th of the attacks inside of the game are weapons, it still deals 2 damage. And so if I play something along the lines of Syndicate Slice and I give it the +2 damage, and then they block with it, I can remove the 2 foundations out of, or 2 attacks out of my discard pile with Inferno and give it, have them burn 2, and it still does 2. That means that they essentially didn't block it. Yeah, it loses the 2 damage, but that's okay. It made up with it in some other ways. It's also a little bit of a defense because after you partially block a weapon attack, which a 5th of the attacks in the game are, the attack deals 0. So stretching out that 35 can be the make or break. Onto the flow cards. As I said at the very beginning, the first line that I said was, we're trying to burn them. So what's the easiest burn card? Unwillingly Evil. Response flip after my opponent plays a card with a keyword rating, powerful, desperation, gauge. I'm going to flip and they're going to burn that much vitality. And so, hey, did you play a Nutcracker? This card says burn 9, I think. It's got Breaker 2, EX 3, right? At least burn 5, right? And so this card just puts in so much work. Do you have a gauge 6 card? Hey, I'm gonna burn you for 6. It's essentially its own attack. More flow, we're playing for Profane Sanctuary. I gotta get cards in my discard pile, man. I'm totally fine with me discarding 2 in order for you to discard 2. Do be careful, though, because of Shadow Slicer running around. You might discard their Shadow Slicer as fast as you can discard yours, as well as it stops my opponent from breakering me, so I can keep pushing through my game plan of trying to be an aggressive monster. My last 2 flow cards are, I've got Outworld's Heiress. This could be another disruption depending on how you use it, but the way that I wanted to use this in the deck is there are plenty of cards that stop my strategy, right? And I can just pay 2 vitality, pay 3 vitality, and put your best defensive asset up into your hand, and then continue to go off. If there's something like refusing to let go, that will put my damage back into printed, or something that will keep my card in my card pool. This is the card that's going to stop my this is the card that stops what stops my opponent, right? And so anti disruption, so it has to be flow. Up next, we've got Double Hell's Reach. This is just flow to the point where I want to be able to play more attacks. Maybe I don't quite get to my desperation level, and all my stuff is super cheap, and I check poorly. Well, I've committed it once per turn, flip, and then re-ready it back up. Or once per game, excuse me, because flip is once per game in most decks. And so, just once per game, I get to push a little harder, push a little deeper. It's just healthy enough. On the defense, we're playing for Know Your Objective. Enhanced Commit. This tech is -2 speed. Good when you got a block. The main block we're going to be blocking with, though, is Flame Aura, and so this card is a little irrelevant. And so from there, it becomes a disruption tool of Enhanced Commit. Flip one of my opponent's foundations with a that grants a damage penalty. So anything that says minus damage on their card face, I can just like flip. Hey, I'll target flip that one. Pretty good, and it's reusable since it's commit. It's solid. More into the disruption, we're playing Most Trusted Assassin. This is just pay a vitality. My opponent's next attack card has -1 to its check. Failing that check does end their turn. So maybe on a big string, I can pay 1 and maybe not take 6 from their last attack or something like that. Might be the thing that makes or breaks it. As well as the first form, maybe I can randomly roll and see something that's in their hand that's going to stop my combo, and I can prepare for it a bit. And then my last card is for Orphan Alchemist. This card, I guess this would be considered flow as opposed to disruption. My apologies. It says that if they were trying to interact with my combo, I can stop that from happening. And so this card just protects my combo from going off. There are plenty of cards that stop Shadow Slicer. We talked about 2 of them today. And so this card protects that thing, protects my Shadow Slicers, so I can make sure I can play all 4 of them. Like I said, 40 damage is nothing to sneeze at. And so making sure that I can keep one of my combo pieces alive, it's worth it. All right, and there you have it, my Inferno 1 deck profile that I played for the Budget Battle Campus Championship. If you like the profile, make sure you let me know in the comments down below. Share with any of your Inferno enthusiast friends, as well as catch us live on twitch.tv/TCG University. Follow out there, so every time that we go live, we play one of these campus championships every Tuesday at 6 o'clock, you will be notified. So, from all of us here at TCGU, thank you very much for watching, and stay learned.